He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
All right, welcome to The Marlow Show. I'm Alex Marlow. We got a good one for you today. I know this because Alex Bruesewitz and Michael Seifert will be here, two of the most productive young people in the whole MAGA movement, and they've got a new initiative that you may have read about at Breitbart News where they're trying to revolutionize the way we donate money to candidates to try to streamline the process, try to save you money from processing, and to try to increase transparency so that we're building up that infrastructure to rival the left and their Act Blue platform. So all that is going to be the second half of the show today, and just really impressive guys. Alex has been on the show before. I famously waved my arms and said, this guy deserves credit for orchestrating Donald Trump's podcast strategy that he ran at the very end of the 2024 election, which I think helped him win over a lot of voters who might not have been there for us, and they were. And a lot of that was because he had this big concerted effort to try to visit these podcasts that were apolitical, but maybe adjacent to conservatism and MAGA. It was just a brilliant strategy. Bruesewitz was the guy who came up with it. He's on to new stuff, and it's going to be really cool. So you guys are going to enjoy that. A lot in the news also to get to before we go to the interview. But before I get into it, I want to talk to you about preborn. Christmas. Yes, we can say Christmas on the show. It's time for giving. And there's nothing better than knowing that what you give results in saving the life of an innocent baby. And for every baby we save, there is a mom who is saved from a lifetime of regret. And dads too, by the way. The dads regret the abortions also. Every Christmas stocking you will look at this month is a blessing in your life. Very profound. Won't you make this possible for a mom today? Preborn provides free ultrasounds to girls and women, and an ultrasound doubles the chance that she will choose life. $140 gives 5 free ultrasounds to save babies. Just $28 a month can save a baby a month for less than $1 a day. Beautiful. Beautiful, dude. $20 a month. Perfect. And if you're looking for the perfect tax-deductible end-of-the-year gifting idea, I can't think of a better one than $15,000. It buys an ultrasound machine that's going to save thousands of lives for years to come. And again, a great tax write-off. Incredible. Whether you want to save one baby or hundreds or thousands, join me saving babies right now and make it a Merry Christmas at Preborn. 833-850-2229, 833-850-2229, or go to preborn.com/Marlow. You can go to alexmarlow.com, hit the banner. And again, just a terrific cause, a perfect way to donate some of those end of the year givings you're planning on. I do recommend all of you check out yesterday's show if you haven't. I always find myself plugging yesterday's shows. I'm proud of these shows, guys. We put a lot of effort into them. But I go into a lot of detail, very important story, how the top unelected official in all the UK, a guy named Morgan McSweeney, chief of staff for the UK's prime minister, he ran a secret censorship campaign to destroy Breitbart News. I give a lot of details. There's more details also on my X page as I've been doing the rounds in media, people asking me about this story. And it continues. The EU, the UK, all of these entities in Europe, they continue to be a threat to freedom. EU has fined Elon Musk and X, the Everything app, $140 million for not following their censorship laws. They're demanding more censorship, and American businesses should not be treated this way. And I think that we need to have a big reset here in the West on free speech because we're going to be completely lost without it. Recall that Labour-led Britain has suspended elections. We have this reporting at Breitbart News from earlier today. They've announced a rollout of China-style facial recognition cameras as well. So there's a huge authoritarian streak wherever the left operates, wherever the secular left in particular operates. We get a major authoritarian streak, and that is coming through in a major way in Europe right now. And we got to be vigilant and diligent, and we'll do that for you at Breitbart. All right, the two monster stories today. The first one's maybe a little shorter, so I'll touch on this. A surprise in the ongoing saga that will Warner Brothers and Discovery get purchased or merge with Paramount. Paramount is run by the Ellison family. Larry Ellison, arguably world's richest man, maybe second richest, Oracle billionaire, and is pretty adjacent to conservatism. I would say overall he's a right of center person, though again, It's very hard to, with someone with that level of wealth, they're not operating. It's not the same plane as just your typical conservative donor. Someone with hundreds of billions and infinite levels of wealth, it's just truly infinite. It's hard to see him fit exactly in that left-right dichotomy, but it's certainly more conservative than other billionaire giants. And David Ellison is his son, who's a little older than I am. I think he's about my age. He's really been running Paramount, Skydance. And there was thought that they were the front runners to merge with Warner Brothers Discovery, which would have been, I think, a positive because they have such a big catalog of movies and of news properties and of information. And it would have been better for that to be controlled by someone who's more of our political sensibilities. But Netflix swooped in and now is in the lead. They've put in the biggest bid for it. So it looks like the intention for Warner Brothers Discovery to sell to Netflix. And this can't be a good thing. I mean, Netflix, of course, famous for doing their share of grooming. They donate overwhelmingly to Democrats. I think they provide a lot of content that is making Americans dumber by the minute in a lot of ways. And I just have very negative things to say about Netflix and all. We've reported on them over and over again at Breitbart News as not being part of the solution. They're also destroying the theatrical experience, which is inevitable maybe at this point, but it's not something I want to encourage. But they're going to have control now over a lot of legendary properties that are owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. And who knows if they're going to wokeify them, if they're going to memory hold them. They also have the whole HBO catalog. So there's a lot there that is not great. But we'll have details for you, Breitbart.com. I talk about it with John Nolte on my Breitbart Fight Club interview at Breitbart Confidential if you want more details on that. But overall, not positive. Anytime Netflix is getting bigger and stronger, that's probably not a good thing. Remember, Netflix also, Susan Rice is on the board. They have huge deals with the Obamas. This is an extremely woke company. And for them to swoop in and to take the deal from a at least leaning conservative family, the Ellisons, is not a positive. And but there's a long way to go for it to get approved. Could get stopped. There's lots of government hurdles along the way. So we'll see. But that was a big surprise that came out. But I'll tell you, it's really funny. Netflix does not want CNN, and that did amuse me. So I don't think Paramount does either. So CNN is going to be spun off in a completely different way, and that's amusing. But also, CNN is so deeply uninteresting that I would love to see them go under new ownership just to see if they can do something different with that brand. It's an iconic brand. You can't underestimate that, and very influential around the world. Less so in the United States, but around the world, still very influential. And I would have loved to have seen if CNN could get passed off to someone more interesting. So we get some better content. So that's where that is. The other one, and it's a good segue here from CNN, is the J6 pipe bomber saga continues to get more dramatic. We got some new revelations. The first one is that the pipe bomber was allegedly a white guy, according to CNN. CNN reported that the pipe bomber was a white person, even though the photo shows that he actually was a black guy. So Jay Kappa reported 30-year-old white man, and then no one corrected him on this. So he reports in the show. It goes on. He doesn't issue a correction. I don't understand. This guy is so lost, Jay Kappa. He used to be one of the brighter spots. People don't remember this too long ago in establishment journalism. And then now just totally nuts. Reports he's a 30-year-old white man, this guy Brian Cole Jr., who's a suspect. And then he airs the photo of him, revealing him to be black. Says he's white, airs a photo of him to be black, and doesn't correct it. No sense of humor about it also. Shouldn't you make fun of yourself? That would be my approach. I don't know. Like if I did that on the show, if I announced that and someone said, hey, you got that wrong, I'd say, you know what? I guess I'm the biggest dummy in the world. I can't believe I did that. So come up with something funny. Be self-deprecating, Jake. So we're getting more details about him. He was sued Trump and ICE and Department of Homeland Security. He had a radical history with BLM or far left adjacent causes. And there's a lot of material that was known about him for years, which leads me to believe that the Biden administration had to have known about him. Credit card purchases of the materials, cell tower records from the night of January the 5th. It seems like some of the FBI could have figured out should they have chosen to do so under Joe Biden. and yet they didn't. And that's really interesting, and we should note that, because it feels like he lived with his mom, Virginia, in a nice neighborhood, in a big house, and obviously nuts, and he was going to lay out a pipe bomb. But it felt like there was enough information there from what I'm able to glean from the affidavit, reviewing it before the show, to suggest that perhaps that we could have figured this out. Also, tough day for the Blaze. I'm not trying to rag on some of our competition, but the Blaze went out there really big. I mentioned this on the broadcast. Really big, and said they'd identified the pipe bomber. And I told you my reaction. I said this on the show at the time. I said, I better be right about that, because if they're not, they're going to be in a world of hurt. And they've since retracted that story completely. So look, journalism's it's no joke. It's a full contact sport. Can't get stuff wrong like that. You create a lot of headaches for yourself. So apparently this guy, Cole, worked at a company that does bail bonds and frees criminal aliens from jail. But yet we're hearing reports. These are the reports that are coming out, that he was also apparently someone who believed the 2020 election was rigged. So these are the big stories. So this is what the media is leading with. And I'm really curious about this because we have a lot of video, but this is, of course, a top story on CNN. Accused DC pipe bomber told the FBI he believed the 2020 election was stolen. So could this be a hoax? Could this be a sort of flashbang to get us distracted? Or did the FBI make a kind of a clumsy error here in terms of where they're leaking their material? Because I'll tell you, as a conservative, and I see this stuff and I think, well, this is narrative control. They're trying to make it seem like this black guy with a history of left-wing activism, that, well, this looks like a great narrative for MAGA. And the fact that Biden administration did nothing, seemed to have this information from purchases, from cell phone towers, and did nothing for years, seemed to suggest a massive Biden-era cover-up by the exact same people who I wrote about in Breaking the Law, the Biden Justice Department, the Biden FBI. Seems like they're the ones who cover this thing up. This is looking like a major narrative for us. And then we hear, oh, he was a 2020 election truther. So now we don't know what to make of it. And I'll tell you, I don't want to be completely dismissive of it, but it feels like one of these ones where the left does this to narrative control, set off a flashbang grenade, distract us. They make us think, well, maybe he was actually a pro-Trump guy. How are we to know? We slow down the momentum in getting the story out there. And then when all the dust settles, sometime over the weekend, we all move on and we don't get the political benefit that we should get, considering that it seems like the Biden administration had information on this guy and kept it for a long time. And then CNN's out there saying he's white when he's really black. This should be one where we're running up the score narrative wise, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're not going to get to. And so I'm just curious where this is going to go, because I don't know. Well, was he just a honest to goodness nut? Is that where he comes from? Or was he someone who was a guy who was maybe peripherally in the conservative movement? Doesn't seem like it. Seems like more details, more evidence suggests he could be on the left. But why is the Trump administration leaking to the media details to left-wing journalists without any sort of counter narrative to conservative journalists, suggesting that maybe he was actually a conservative guy or something? So it just leaves you in a very confused spot, and we'll continue to have details for you, Breitbart News, but it feels like one where the Biden administration potentially covered up that a left-wing radical did this. And here's another data point, which is interesting. The materials for the bomb were apparently purchased long before the 2020 election. So think about that. Those of you who think that he was only motivated to do this because of 2020. So we got to get the details out. We got to get them out faster. And it's great that we're having more transparency, but there's also a huge fog of war, a sense of confusion that's going on as I'm recording the show. Dan Bongino spoke about this a little bit at a press conference, or was this TV? I forget which one I pulled, but we're going to play it. We're going to find out what I pulled. Here we go.
Yeah, we've been working on for a very long time.
At
we
a press
deeply
conference.
appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words, Attorney General and Director. I appreciate it. Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement. This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's said a lot in this business. It was a team effort. It becomes cliche, but cliches are useful for a reason because they matter. And this was a team effort. The director and the attorney general emphasized that it was not a new public tip this was our internal work at the FBI. And
Great. I'm glad he gets potentially a W out of it, but I'm nervous about the narrative war now that they're saying that he thought the 2020 election was rigged. So generally these guys who do this sort of stuff are nuts and they're inconsistent. But I would like to come to you and say that this is all a media hoax, and it might be, but I'm not getting enough to totally debunk all of it. So, all right, we'll keep you posted at Breitbart News. Other stuff going on. I'll tell you something that's not in the news today, and that's the Venezuela boat bombings. Completely gone. I played that Martha Raddatz clip for you on yesterday's show where she says it is confirmed that those were drug boats, and the double tap, which shouldn't have been outrageous anyway, was because the drug smugglers were trying to get back on the boat to salvage some of the drug supply after they got bombed. So everything Trump and Hegseth did were not only not war crimes, it was exactly their job. They were doing their job, and it was all Abrego Garcia Part 2. Yet, there was one man who wants to save us and get us a little bit more Venezuelan drug boat headlines, and he's beloved by the Marlowe audience. That's Sri Tanadar, Congressman Sri Tanadar, known for impeaching Donald J. Trump. He's out there, and now he wants to impeach Pete J. Hegseth. I don't know Pete's middle initial, but we'll assume it's J for the sake of this. Check out this speech. It is a beautiful
Secretary
thing.
of Defense Pete Hegseth is uniquely unqualified for his role. Every day, it becomes clearer that he is engaging in unlawful, illegal activity.
So, first of all, he's smiling. His hairpiece is just terrific. He has, do the show on video if you can. Go to YouTube and Rumble, subscribe, try to get on video. You do miss some elements if you don't get to watch. I'm audio first, just like you guys, or many of you, but it's the video is just so fun. He's so happy to be talking about how Pete's unqualified, but Pete already got approved, Senate confirmed. So it's him being unqualified. That's asked and answered. And now he's doing stuff illegal. Let's see if Sri Tanadar suggests anything that's actually illegal.
That is why today I am preparing 2 articles of impeachment against Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. One for murder and conspiracy to murder, and another for reckless and unlawful mishandling of classified information. Recently, Pete Hegseth has been under increased scrutiny for his direct orders to kill everybody on a small civilian boat off the coast of Venezuela, which had no indication of being hostile.
It was importing drugs that would be consumed by Americans, kill Americans, destroy our communities in the process, and lower the morale for the country. The downstream effects of massive drug flow in the United States of America is immense, but he says they're not hostile. This is a individual who I don't know what planet Sri Tanadar is from, but it's certainly not the same planet I'm from or the people in my audience.
And we now know that Pete Hegseth not only carried out these strikes, but ordered those under his command to kill everybody and leave no survivors, an illegal act under our own laws of war. Even when 2 of those...
We're not in a war. This is the whole premise that these guys are not getting, is that we are not in a war. So you can't accuse someone of war crimes outside of a war. And if you can, just explain to me the mechanics of it. Or is it just political? This is the whole thing, is they're not walking through what specifically did he do. He said he violated the laws of war. What are the laws? Can I get a little more detail here? Because last I checked, if they're trying a drug boat from a narco state is intentionally coming to the United States to poison our children, then why is it illegal for us to stop them and to make sure they're stopped when they're trying to get back on the boat and continue the mission even after they've been bombed?
On board clung to life on the side of the boat. He ordered them to strike again to make sure they were dead. This was not an act of war. Congress has not declared war on Venezuela. Hegseth and the administration gave the excuse of fighting narco-terrorism but provided no evidence for their claim.
It's striking to me that they think our Department of War, our armed forces, our military in general, the whole point of what they want is for them to do nothing, just spend taxpayer money in the defense industry so that they can all get cushy jobs. That's the only thing they want. They don't want us to actually do anything. So even if America is threatened or America's closest allies are threatened or nations around the world who are openly hostile want to destroy us or developing major weapon capabilities, we're supposed to do nothing other than just buy weapons from the defense industry. It's completely incoherent. I just hope that people in Sri Tanadar's district get to know this guy. All right, I got a little more.
Such reckless and unlawful handling of classified information would be, for any of Pete Hegseth's civilian and military subordinates, a career-ending offense and likely result in criminal prosecution. This has to end now.
And then threatening criminal prosecution. Just remember this. This is why breaking the law will continue to be relevant. I don't bring this up for my own health because this is the intention. The intention is to make so normal people without ridiculous levels of rhinoceros hide will never step out and actually try to show leadership in this country because they know that once the balance of power shifts to the Democrats, then they're going to be accused of all sorts of different crimes. There's no agreeing to disagree anymore. They are using lawfare. He is threatening lawfare against Pete Hegseth for doing the basics of his job. Bombing drug boats that seek to poison our children is the basics. That's a fundamental. That's a concession layup. And we're acting as though it's illegal.
Now, that is why today I am calling for the impeachment of Pete Hegseth for the crime of murder and conspiracy to murder for the reckless and unlawful mishandling of classified information and for the flagrant violation of numerous military laws. I love the United States of America and will always fight to uphold our Constitution.
He's way more concerned about our Secretary of War killing drug dealers in the middle of a drug run than he is American citizens being killed by the drugs on the drug run. If that isn't a window into the modern day Democrat Party, then I don't know what is. A completely different planet, as I said. All right, quick roundup of some other stuff that's going on. We got breaking news from the Indiana House passing a new congressional map, 57-41. This will redistrict 2 additional seats towards Republicans. This is great news. And again, we got to fight fire with fire. If they're doing that out in California, get some more in Texas, get some more in Indiana. People are driving by Tim Walz's house and yelling retard at him. He thinks this is a call to violence of some sort, but it's amazing because he walks around calling everyone fascists all the time. And Nazis. But he says that they start with taunts and they turn to violence. No, we don't. You guys turn to violence. You guys are the ones who shot President Trump in the ear. You guys are the ones who shot Charlie Kirk in the neck. And it is a remarkable thing that these guys have always done this. Leftist violence is protected speech. Conservative speech is violence. So anyone making fun of him, again, these guys have no sense of humor. I thought Walz was supposed to be kind of funny. I guess not. And I'll tell you one thing, though, for sure. He is obviously a retard. Like, that is for sure. So Walz clearly retarded, the most retarded person in American public life, as far as I can tell. A judge had ordered Jeffrey Epstein-related grand jury records in Florida to be released. So that's a good thing. So we'll get some more Epstein stuff. Feed the Epstein beast. You got to do it. And the Supreme Court has agreed to hear Trump's challenge to birthright citizenship. So we got that to look forward to. So we'll get a birthright citizenship test. I'm not a constitutional scholar. I'm not even an attorney. But I will tell you that I don't see any reading of our 14th Amendment that should suggest that there is a birthright citizenship. This feels like one that is destined to get overthrown, but maybe I'm wrong. And we will hear all these arguments play out in the Supreme Court. Last one, this is kind of a tease. Something I think about doing on the show, but it's a tough one. And I'll throw this out there to all of you. And you can email me aloha@alexmarlow.com. if you would like to see some of this content or not. But the feud between Candace Owens and pretty much everyone else is really escalating. Candace has obviously completely gone off the deep end into deep conspiracy land and is not even remotely a part of the conservative movement at this point. She's just doing her own thing and garnering a lot of attention. Clearly a good businesswoman, at least for the time being, to some degree. And I have pointed out that her suggesting that the people closest to Charlie Kirk, the people who Charlie chose to run his business with him, the people who flew around the world with him, the people who had bet their whole adult lives on Charlie and Charlie's success, that they were the ones who were behind his murder it's inappropriate, it's inaccurate, it's clearly false and ridiculous. And she's been doing this for months, and Turning Point USA crowd pitched her on doing a live stream to talk it all out. They set a date and a time. I guess they didn't run it by Candace, and then Candace says she can't be there, and she's getting called out for backing down or ducking an event. And I get a lot of thoughts on this beyond what I just shared. And if you guys want to hear it, let me know, because I've been avoiding it because I feel like it's been better just to watch her light herself on fire in public than to, be part of the dog pile. But that's where we're at. And I don't know, maybe it's the kind of content you guys want to hear from. I'll tell you, we're going to update the show format in January. I've got massive announcements on that front, and I'll fill you in on that in probably the next week or two. And when we do that, I think I'm going to carve out more time to do some of that stuff that I don't feel like is the most important things in the news, but maybe you guys will want to hear from me on certain topics. And I will create a forum for myself to do that I think some of you will like, and some of you might not like. Some of you probably just want your news content. So, but again, peripherally related to the news of the day, but just all a big distraction from fighting the left and trying to make sure MAGA is ascendant, which is, I think in terms of what I'm trying to do with the show, I'm trying to inform you on all the news and then get into that sort of content. So anyway, aloha at alexmarlowe.com if you want more on that. Okay, let's bring in my guests here, Alex Bruesewitz, Michael Seifert, two impressive guys. You'll love to hear from them. They're going to tell you about the way they're pioneering a new fundraising platform to try to make it so that conservatives can fight back more efficiently against the left. Check it out. Anyone dealing with arthritis, joint pain, or those stubborn aches that hit you first thing in the morning? This is for you. I've tried so many things over the years, but I finally found something that gives actual relief. And if you use code Marlowe, you'll get 10% off. It's called the Super Palm 1050 from SunPower LED. It's a handheld red light therapy device that targets stiff joints, sore muscles, and those everyday pains. What makes it different is how deeply it reaches, way deeper than typical red light devices. So the relief actually hits where the pain is. It heats up fast, is comfortable to hold, and it has built-in safety features, so it never gets too hot. I use it on my back and knees. You could use it on your hips, shoulders, wherever, and it leaves me with that calming, soothing relief that lasts. It's honestly become part of my daily routine. If you're tired of feeling sore every day, try it for yourself. Use code Marlowe for 10% off the Super Palm 1050 and start feeling real relief. All right, we got a world exclusive today. Two guests on the show. Michael Seifert is here and Alex Bruesewitz. They should both be familiar to you. Alex has been on in the past, advisor to President Trump, and the genius behind the podcast strategy, which I think really sealed the deal for Trump in the 2024 election. And I have to say, Alex, I'm putting my hand up here. I think I was the first one to really start giving you credit for this. I think you've gotten a lot of credit since, but I was the one, I think you said, wait a minute, this is huge. This is happening. And when I traced it back to you, it made perfect sense. So congrats on that. And it seems like you've been on a major run since then. We'll catch up on that. And Michael Seifert, who runs Public Square, which is a company I've admired a long time. He was on my radio show on SiriusXM. We had a great conversation. And we've got a lot to get into. But the reason you guys are here is you've launched a new platform that is going to hopefully revolutionize the way conservatives fundraise, and hopefully for people in my audience, very activist, activated audience, hopefully this will make it easier for you guys to donate places and more efficient in terms of getting the money to your preferred candidates and causes with minimal fees and with tech that is not run by the tech giants. So you guys got a lot to offer here, but Michael, let me start with you. Tell me a little bit about your background for the audience and then what we're doing today.
I'm happy to. Alex, thank you for having us. So today is a very exciting day because it's a major step forward in our evolution as a company to increasingly build financial technology for a better America. We want to build commerce solutions that allow for economic liberty to flourish in our nation. And our background is as a marketplace and payments company. We're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Public Square is our name. And about a year ago, I actually had a great conversation with Alex Bruesewitz, who I want to share more about this in a moment, where he illuminated a potential opportunity for me. And after the 2024 election cycle, the victory that we secured, it became very clear that there was room for improvement in the infrastructure that actually powers the fundraising apparatus in the Republican Party. And if this is how great of an outcome we had in 2024, what more would be possible if we were able to save tens of millions of dollars in processing fees, if we were able to make the power of the donor dollar go farther, if we were able to secure a greater level of donor privacy so that the donors feel more comfortable re-engaging as donors into the future. We had this wonderful conversation, and ultimately what it spurred is the creation of a subsidiary of Public Square called PSQ Impact. And Impact is a competitor to WinRed that operates as an innovative fundraising platform powered by our background of financial technology. We believe it is going to take this industry by storm, and we are donor and cause first. We believe profoundly that the way we win moving forward is by ensuring that every single donor's hard-earned dollar is maximized from an impact perspective, hence the name. So that's the summary, Alex. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm really excited to see what comes with this product.
Yeah, me too. And there's a lot there that I want to dive into. But Alex, let me bring you in because you're one of the busiest guys in MAGA right now. You're super high energy, which I've always loved. We've known each other for a while. And even before I think you became an advisor to President Trump, I always thought you'd pretty unbelievable energy. I know you're jet setting around the world at the moment. Why did you feel like this is something that you wanted to do worth your time? And when you're in hot demand right now, you thought this is a real pain point in the movement. Give us some insight into this.
Yeah, well, first, I just want to comment on the fact that you were the first person to give me credit for the podcast strategy. Thank you very much. But that credit is not just for me. It was a whole team effort. Susie Wiles was incredibly important in that and elevating me and supporting me on that. Barron Trump was involved. Dana White was involved. John Shahidi of the Nelk Boys. It was truly a team effort, and I think we did a good job. And so
amazing. And happy to give all those guys credit.
Well, I obviously appreciate the kind words that you've shared about that strategy over the years. But right after the election, instead of celebrating the victory, I actually started thinking about what does the future look like for the Republican Party. We'll see what happens in 2028. But at the time, maybe it felt like that was going to be the last campaign that President Trump was at the top of the ticket. And that got me a little bit concerned because I know historically Republicans have a hard time generating small dollar enthusiasm for anyone outside of the name Donald Trump. They have a hard time turning out the vote for anyone without the name Donald Trump. And we've seen that in the last few special elections or the election in Virginia. The Republican Party really needs to figure out how they can win in a post-Trump environment. And fortunately, we have this window here where we have already won. We have a President Donald Trump who is effectively in the executive branch right now and kind of paving the way. And so we have a 3.5-year window here to figure out what does the future look like. And one of the easiest places I thought we could start because of the relationship that I had with this great tech company, Public Square, was the payment processing space. That's a concern that our donors have had for many years. They don't know where their dollars are going when they donate to a candidate. They are frustrated with the spam that they receive. They have fatigue a lot of the times. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a platform that eased those concerns, that answered all of those questions, that lowered rates, and it just had total transparency. And so I said, Michael, can we go build this? He said, yes. And for the last year, he's had his engineers working around the clock to get us that solution. But it's important to me because I want the Republican Party to be successful long term. I'm a young man. I'm 28 years old. God willing, I'm around for many more elections. But I'm very concerned about what the Republican Party looks like post-Trump unless changes are made. And so we're very focused on making these changes. I'm confident that Impact can solve the concerns that people have in the payment processing space. And after we launch this, perhaps we can look at some of these other areas. But I think the processing space is a really easy place to start. We can save the party tens of millions of dollars out of the get-go. And we have a really great solution for the future.
Right. So you got psqimpact.com. Is that where people should go to check it out? So psqimpact.com, people should go and check it out right away, early and often. There's so many keywords in there I want to home in on here and kind of illuminate for the audience. But the first thing that really struck me as someone who is a professional skeptic of big tech is the main competitor in the space is called WinRed. I want to talk about them in a second. But the fact that you're trying to get the payments processed on from a perspective of the underlying infrastructure is owned and run by conservatives is a huge deal in the era of mass cancellation, debanking, et cetera. Michael?
I couldn't agree more, Alex. We actually think it's a major enterprise risk to the party that we would do any fundraising on Stripe. So when we came into the market, we wanted to leverage our own payment stack, which is called PSQ Payments, to be able to secure peace of mind for the party, knowing that they are operating with a like-minded, values-aligned, principled partner that will always protect the economic liberty of our party and of our movement. Not just because that's core to our ethos as a company, but we also share these principles, the principles that guide our party, the conservative movement, the stance of being truly America first in how we operate as a country, resembles exactly how we operate as a company. And so for us, we wanted to make sure that as we entered this market, our customers, meaning donors, our merchants, meaning campaigns or organizations, people on both sides of the transaction, of this contribution, need to know that they're operating with a values-aligned partner that's excited about serving them in a cancel-proof manner. And what I will also tell you, Alex, is that this is something for us that we have a lot of experience in. You know, as I mentioned, we are a marketplace and payments company that especially focuses on serving customers or business owners who have been debanked or have been shut out of the traditional corporate America financial juggernaut system. We actually love serving those folks. We're one of the largest payments enterprises for the gun industry, for example. So we really focus on serving those who have a value for life, family, liberty, and we built our own technology such that we have multiple redundancies. We focus quite a lot on ensuring our cancel-proof promise. We also make it very easy to leave us. You know, this is one thing that folks have had a challenge with Stripe for years, both in the giving world as well as the for-profit environment. Stripe makes it very difficult to leave you. And what that does is it breeds complacency on the part of Stripe, and then it breeds frustration for the folks that are using Stripe. For us, our core promise to any organizations that's partnered with us or any business owners that are leveraging our payments is if you are not satisfied with our services, you can up and leave completely with your data within 20 minutes, and we'll help you do it. So we think that that added benefit to the movement is going to keep us honest. It's going to keep us motivated to continue serving, and ultimately, at the end of the day, give the folks we're trying to serve, as Alex mentioned, peace of mind.
So, Alex, I want to talk about WinRed, which I don't know much about WinRed. As a journalist, I don't do a ton of donating to candidates, so I don't use the product. I know that there are rumors about them or complaints about them. I'm generally anti-monopoly, and the fact that I don't really think I know anyone over there, and I don't know. I'm not without my sway in the movement. I think it's kind of interesting. I've never talked to anyone over there, but I don't have anything particularly negative to say about them. But you guys identified them as kind of, it doesn't make sense for the movement for them to be a monopoly. Can you speak to this?
Yeah, I think simply we believe in competition. The Democrats kind of inspired this because, they have the Act Blue, and Act Blue is a total disaster. And perhaps they should, maybe they'll be under investigation soon. They should be under investigation soon. The rumor has it that they've been laundering foreign donations through their platform. It's a terrible situation. And so the Democrats are stuck with that monopoly. And the Republicans on the other side, they have a monopoly with WinRed. Like, we need competition in this space. I think competition is good in every industry. And it will lead to better results all across the board. And so I think the biggest thing for me And the biggest concern that I had initially looking at it was the cost. We're paying incredibly high fees as a party. And specifically President Trump. President Trump makes up well over half of, from my understanding, nearly half of WinRed's entire volume. And, the only reason that a lot of the Republican campaigns are even getting donations is because every campaign is using Donald Trump's name. And so it's not because of the solution that is being provided by the payment processor. It's because of one man, Donald Trump. Like, the party isn't raising hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars every cycle because the processor is so great so they can get away with charging exorbitant fees. We're raising money right now as a party because of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump might not be running for president again. And so the party needs to figure out, how can we make our dollars go farther? And so we're coming in out of the gate, cutting the fee by nearly a half basis point, which is going to be massive. That's going to be millions and millions of dollars saved. And WinRed can't budge. WinRed has never said, hey, we want to lower the rates. They don't lower the rates. And so, that was probably the major thing. And then through conversations with our donors, if you look at a tweet I just put out this morning, there's hundreds of comments saying, I refuse to donate through WinRed anymore. I don't know what they're doing with my data. I don't know what they're doing with this. I don't know what they're doing with that. So there's donor frustration. There's the way that WinRed is set up that does not protect the names of small dollar donors. And so we're looking at a solution to make sure that every name is protected that we can protect. And then from the candidates and the campaign perspective is, they're like, we never hear from WinRed. We've been a client of WinRed for years, but they never reach out. They never talk to us. And so all across the board, the campaigns are dissatisfied, the donors are dissatisfied, the vendors are dissatisfied. And so we've had conversations with all of the stakeholders in our party, and we like to think that we addressed all of those concerns, all of the questions that they have about WinRed, and so they can feel very comfortable working with our platform. And I also like the fact that our platform and our team can make changes in real time. We don't take 6, 7, 8 months to implement new updates. We're doing rolling updates. And so if somebody has an idea and they're like, hey, I don't like this functionality, our engineers will go in and fix it just like that. And they're working in real time with the biggest vendors in the business. And so we're trying to kind of answer all of the questions that people have had about the previous platform.
Yeah, that is a common thing in sort of a monopoly environment, is there's no urgency to make updates. I just had this conversation in a different context with a guy who's running a defense contractor that's a startup, and he keeps saying that the government signs these contracts with these sort of grandfathered in defense contractors, and then they don't update the technology for like 3-4 years because they don't have to, because the contracts go. And in the meantime, we're using technology that's dated and we're fighting wars with it, and it's not a good thing. And this is sort of a war, it's politics. We don't want to turn over the country to the left, and we're trying to make sure that we're honing the blade as best we can. We're talking around an issue that I think is super essential to, modern day MAGA voters, which is transparency. I think that people are very frustrated with lack of clear information, not knowing what's happening to their data, not knowing exactly where their money's going. It's a huge turnoff for people to donate. You guys are trying to solve for that. Michael, walk me through this.
Yeah, so Alex, what I would tell you is that, as Alex Bruesewitz mentioned previously, we have transparency as a core principle that guides us as a company. And not only is this a choice that we make consciously every single day, but it's also codified into our existence as a public company. If folks want to know how much we're spending, how much we're making, if they want to know my salary, they have all of that information publicly available in our SEC filings. And so at our core, not just related to impact, but related to the totality of our business enterprise, donors know with assurance exactly what PSQ Impact is, how it operates, how it's structured, who operates it, and ultimately they understand the financial outlook of our business. I think that's a big win, number one. Number two is, I would say, for a long time, the incumbents in this space have leveraged tools like conduit packs, where the platform, the fundraising platform, is pretty deeply entrenched in the actual transaction between the donor and the campaign. And in many cases, our competitors have sought to have a very direct relationship with the donors themselves, but that's not what the donors are looking for. What we've heard from donors is actually that they want a direct relationship with the people they're actually giving to. They don't want to have confusion when they go to their bank statement and see a processor or a fundraising platform instead of the candidate they gave to. They don't want to have to ask questions about who exactly is this entity that my money is being routed through. They want to have that direct relationship with the candidate and know that their data is only going to the candidate that they're actually contributing to. And so we're bringing this platform into market with a tool called Allied Fundraising that does just that. It's a replacement to the conduit structure. And our ethos there is we are simply a broker of a relationship. A donor has a desire to give their hard-earned dollars. Mind you, Alex, the average donor is giving typically around $15 to $25. So these are small dollar donations from amazing Americans that have worked hard. They believe in a candidate and that candidate's message, and they put that hard-earned dollar out there. They want to have a direct relationship with that entity, and we facilitate it. That's all we do at the end of the day. And our Allied Fundraising tool allows for that to happen, not just between one donor and one entity, but multiple entities can actually join together in that effort to be able to reach that donor, which is pretty exciting too. So you actually get, as a donor, the opportunity to see a wide swath of different causes that you have the ability to contribute to at your contribution. So, Alex, you nailed it. Transparency is key to us. We want to make sure that our customer service is actually paramount. The last thing I'll mention to you on this note is that we have, for example, a chat functionality on our donation pages. So when you are a donor and you are maybe asking questions about where exactly is my money going, I'm a little confused why the language is written in certain ways on these donation pages, there's a chat feature right there where you can actually engage with us, an all-American, full-time employed staff that is all right here in the United States, and we would love to walk you through that process. In our soft launch season, where we've done some pretty robust testing over the last few months, Alex, we've already seen that chat function alone dramatically increase conversions at checkout because people feel like this is not a scam. There are real people behind this, and they're trying to help me broker a relationship with the cause or candidate that I actually believe in.
Okay, so let's walk through a practical scenario. So we're fired up. Election season's coming around. We want to cut some checks, even if they're small checks. Alex, can you walk us through the process of what people do here?
Well, our platform is specifically focused on online transactions, and so ACH or small dollar donations. And so we'll partner with a campaign, say Alex Marlow for Governor of California.com.
I could run for Congress where I'm at, but I think that might be less powerful. But it's I'm in a swing seat until Newsom redistricts.
I think Congress needs some better hair, and you have good hair. So
I'm working on the flow. Been working on it
for the team. Well, let's say Alex Marlow for Governor of California.com, and you can go on, set up your donation page, and you simply go on, you make an online donation, and the money goes straight to your account. We never hold the money. The money never comes to our bank account first. The way that these other entities are set up, they're set up, as Michael said, as a conduit pack where the money goes to the entity first, and then the entity distributes it to the campaign. We're simply acting as a direct pass-through to your campaign. And so we never hold any money. We never hold any of the data. The data belongs to your campaign. And so we are very unique in that regard. ActBlue and the other competitors in this space, they hold the money first and then they send it. And also when somebody donates to you, Alex, it's not going to show win red on their bank account. It's going to say Alex Marlow for Governor on their bank account, which I think will help people's concerns around where their money's going. And the campaigns are getting hundreds of calls, thousands of calls saying, "Who the heck did I just donate to? Who is this platform? I meant to donate to you." And then it takes time away from being able to actually go campaign. So we're excited about those features. And it's a really easy process, and we'll be posting videos and showcasing tutorials on how to do everything here in the coming days.
Does the president know you guys are doing this? Because it feels like something that could help his legacy.
Well, we've been having conversations, I think, with all of the major stakeholders in our party. Everyone that we've talked to has shown tremendous enthusiasm. Again, the president is the largest and really the only reason the Republican Party has a small dollar fundraising operation. Don't get me wrong; I think there's great vendors in this space, and we have relationships with all of them. But they will tell you also, Donald Trump is the guy who drives the small dollar fundraising. It is his name. It is not the platforms that are currently in market. The only reason Republicans have a small dollar operation that trumps the Democrats is Donald J. Trump. And so we are really focused on maximizing all of those small dollar donations now and into the future. And so we are keeping everybody apprised and having conversations with all of the stakeholders because we want this to feel like it's a product for everybody.
Right. Okay. So I want to talk about just the broader alternative economy that, Michael, you've been sort of a pioneering figure in this regard, really trying to set stuff up. And it feels like something that we've been talking about for, I don't know, at least half a decade at this point, that we need to be doing things to make sure that we're able to be able to function as a movement, as a people, when there is such widespread cancellation that's been going on. Really, of course, Breitbart, was the guinea pig for a lot of the cancellation, the boycotting, and standing up alternatives is essential. But also, we've worked on a lot of the mainstream corporations who are now, I think, more friendly to our viewpoint overall and don't unperson us as they used to in the past. But where are we at on this? Where do you think we're at in terms of setting up our own economy so that we're protected from whenever the next cancel culture moment happens?
I would say, Alex, that something really interesting is happening right now where the alternative economy or the parallel economy is starting to become the mainstream economy. The principles that guided the creation of this alternate economic ecosystem are now actually beginning to become the dominant principles in our economy in certain sectors. The frustration with the ESG and the DEI mafia became so enormous that folks en masse departed from the broken, corrupt legacy institutions and ran towards services like ours, but certainly not just ours. There are incredible alternatives that have popped up to the mainstream giants that are now dinosaurs that are outdated in every single industry category. You've seen this a lot in food, even, and agriculture, the rise of the Maha movement. People are actually looking at their ingredients for the first time and are trying to find brands that'll support their life and their family and their well-being. It's incredible. You're seeing this in banking. There's a reason that stable coins are emerging as such a viable tool in the transaction process.
Yeah.
And obviously that was validated by the Genius Act this summer. It's because stablecoins help you secure a level of economic liberty detached from the traditional financial networks that we've never seen before. So you're seeing our principles, whether it's in entertainment with platforms like Rumble, you're seeing our principles validated on a grand scale. So Alex, as I look to the future, you mentioned that, yes, we've been building sort of a parallel economic ecosystem for the last half a decade. As I look at the next half a decade, what I honestly see on the horizon is that we become completely the dominant, not just the parallel or the alternative anymore. And I think that the validation that even the 2024 election cycle showcased was a big part of that. Trump did a phenomenal job as a candidate, and then obviously as president over the last nearly year at championing the very values that underpin the parallel economy. And so it's pretty neat to be running in this race knowing that we truly have the values of the American people and the buy-in and the mandate from the American people behind us, not just from a political perspective, but also from an economic one.
And absolutely. Let me jump on that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. I just want to say that the parallel economy is so incredibly important. And I got connected with Michael in 2021, and I introduced him to Don Jr. shortly after that, and had a great meeting. And a few months after that, we take Public Squared public, and we're a publicly traded company, which was incredibly exciting. But Michael was one of the only business leaders on a New York Stock Exchange company that was willing to stand with President Trump and MAGA Republicans between the years 2021 and 2024. And so, post Trump's victory, although we have a lot of new friends and there's been a lot of change of hearts and some of these companies, but I, like many of our voters, don't know if those change of hearts will last forever. And so I wouldn't be shocked if some of these companies went back to their old ways if there was no longer a Republican in power. And so I think it's so incredibly important to identify who is truly with us, rally behind who is truly with us, and make sure that we partner with who's truly with us. And I think Michael, and that's why I'm so excited to have Michael and Public Square powering this new campaign infrastructure, because I know that they will never waver.
Yeah, really cool. And Alex, I look to you sometimes to keep an eye on coalition building. I know that part of the reason why I thought the podcast strategy was so great, because it was starting to reach people who were on the periphery of our coalition, and we had to try to keep them. And so I got a two-part question for you. I want to evaluate, we're a year since the election, almost a year into Trump's first administration. How are we doing in terms of making sure that newer members of our coalition are excited to continue down the MAGA path? And assuming you're not going to give us 100 out of 100 grade on that, what do we need to do in the next year to make sure that we're in good shape heading into midterm seasons?
Well, I feel like the president is doing his part. I think the White House and the administration are really focused on delivering for all aspects of the coalition. Michael really emphasized a big one earlier. It's the MAHA movement. The MAHA movement was critical to President Trump's victory last November. And so, he nominated a great woman. Her name's Casey Means to be the Surgeon General. And we have a Republican Senate that has yet to confirm her, that has yet to call a hearing for her. And so when we're talking about the midterms, you're needing enthusiasm and coalition to turn out, the winning coalition to turn out for the candidates who are up in the midterms. Well, it would be good to deliver on some of these easy things like President Trump's nominations, confirming all of President Trump's picks. And so I feel like the president is doing all that he can, but we need more help from Congress. And I think, don't get me wrong, we have great members in Congress. I'm very happy with many members in Congress, but then we have some who still cling to the party of the past that hasn't won anything of consequence since I was 7 years old. So I'm optimistic that we have the opportunity and the ability to deliver on all aspects over the next 11 months or so. But we need Congress to pull its weight and deliver. And President Trump has called for the ending and the termination of the filibuster. I totally agree with that. The Democrats would do that if they had a chance. We need to deliver for our voters, and our voters are very vocal and tell us what they want every day. So President Trump hears them, he listens to them, and I hope every Republican in Congress does the same.
Yeah. And so what do you make of the infighting that's going on in the Congress? Because it just does feel like we're falling for some major traps here where, there's Republicans fighting about affordability, even though, of course, the affordability issue is largely a Joe Biden created problem. I'm not saying that there isn't more we can do, but it is, and then we're fighting amongst ourselves about it. And it just feels like this is playing out a lot where we're identifying, the Democrats don't want to legislate at all. They don't negotiate at all. And then we're fighting amongst ourselves because they're not allowing us to push an agenda through. And I just feel like this is the trap the left wants, because then the Democrats can say, well, we're not governing at all. We're not getting anything accomplished, even though we're not getting stuff accomplished because they're so terrible. So that's something, though, that we have to solve for over the next year.
Yeah, we do need to solve for this. And I would like to see the infighting stop. I think President Trump, there shouldn't be any fights. President Trump's election last November was a mandate. It was his agenda that powered Republicans to victory. We don't need to argue over ideas. We know what ideas were successful. We know what policies that the voters want, and it's what the voters voted for when they elected Donald Trump in November of 2024. And so we just need to deliver on his agenda. It's very simple. President Trump is very focused on lowering costs, and he already is lowering costs. And so I don't want this argument about affordability. Donald Trump is the president who is making things more affordable. Look what he's done with, pharmaceutical prices and all of these different things. He's lowering taxes. We're going to have the largest tax refund in this next refund season. And so the president is already delivering on these things. We don't need new ideas. President Trump is focused. We need a Republican Congress that's willing to advance his agenda every step of the way. We need a Republican Congress that's willing to codify President Trump's agenda and his executive orders. I don't even know how many executive orders have been codified yet. And so the president can only do so much. He's also only one person. And so, the president is about to hit the campaign trail again. He's about to do a cross-country circuit,
Right.
And talking about his administration's victories, especially when it comes to the economy. But as you mentioned, this, Bidenflation isn't something that we can snap our fingers off and it goes away overnight. This is something that we have to consistently fight. The president understands that, and the policies that he's put in place over the last year, I think, are really lowering costs. Gasoline's lower, food grocery prices are lower. The president's tariffs are attracting economic investment. Something to the tune of $21 trillion in economic pledges have been committed. And again, that money doesn't just hit the bank account and jobs are created overnight. This is something that will take a little bit of time with a little bit of patience. These money will come, jobs will roar back. And so the president is delivering. We just need the Republican Congress to focus and deliver.
Yeah, we got a few minutes left, and I'll ask you guys each the same question. What are your recommendations? We got 11 months to go until the midterm elections. What is the focus? And you can make it policy or infrastructure related. I know you guys are infrastructure focused, policy or infrastructure related, because I'm trying to say this to people, that the stakes could not be higher in the midterms. If you want to do 2 years of impeachment BS, or if you want to do 2 more years of historic MAGA running up the score, it all comes down to what happens next November. And I want people hyper-focused on this on day one. We cannot sleep. This is where my latest book, Breaking the Law, this is the main conclusion, is we cannot take days off. There are no days off if we want to win. So Michael, to you first.
Yeah, Alex, I would say that we are excited about the midterms, actually, because we believe that the bottom line is our country is doing far better than it was a year ago. And as Alex mentioned, there's a lot of evidence for that. So really the challenge that we have to make sure that we're excelling to overcome over the next year is communicating and then having a foundation of infrastructure that can amplify those positive enhancements that the president and Republicans have made to our country incredibly well over the next year. So our focus obviously is infrastructure, as you mentioned. I do believe that as we're heading into the midterms, it's important that we play our role to secure economic liberty, get out the business owners to be a part of the storytelling as we head into the midterms. We hear from thousands of businesses, Alex, every single month through our marketplace and payments network that are sharing that their lives are tangibly better. We just had Black Friday and Cyber Monday over the weekend. Businesses are booming. We've seen many of our merchants. We actually had one that we talked to yesterday who doubled in sales from last year. And so, we've got the awesome testimonials. We've got the stories to tell. We may need to make sure that as a company, we are building the infrastructure that can amplify that message and then ensure that when donors partner with that message, when they believe in it and they put their hard-earned dollars toward amplifying it, that the maximum amount of dollars that could be possible from that donation goes directly to the causes, the initiatives, the campaigns, and the committees that can ultimately take that message and turn it into victory. So policy is the hard stuff. Getting actual change is the hard stuff. Messaging and making sure that those stories are being told, that's really what I hope that we continue to focus on over the next year. And we as a company are always happy to help in that endeavor.
Terrific. Alex, same question to you.
Well, I think Michael hit it. Improving communication is key. President Trump is only one communicator. He's certainly the best communicator, and he has the loudest voice and the loudest megaphone that we could ask for. But I think every Republican needs to step up and do better at communication. The party also needs to play to win. The filibuster, ending the filibuster is how you play to win. Our voters want to see movement. Our voters want to see action. They want to see it's not all for naught. And so when they see that President Trump's executive orders aren't codified yet, they're like, okay, why? What the heck's going on? Because they watched what happened during his first term when he did all of his executive orders and then crazy Joe Biden gets in on a rigged election and he undoes them on day one. And then the catastrophe started. So President Trump's executive orders are making a massive difference. And so having a Congress that makes them law will be very important. And so I also think that the Republican Party and our people need to stop focusing on the issues that our voters don't really care about. There's some very online issues that very loud pockets of the internet like to talk about. Many of them have to do with foreign policy. That's not what the everyday American cares about. And so they're focused on the economy, which they support President Trump's use of tariffs. They support President Trump's efforts to bring opportunities back home. And so stop focusing on, what podcasters are saying or who they're having on their podcast, and start focusing on what the voters actually care about. And so we just need the Republican Party to focus, play to win, and communicate better. And I think we'll win.
I'd add to it, but it's exactly my take, exactly my opinion. All right, guys, Michael Seifert, Alex Bruesewitz. So everyone should go to psqimpact.com to check out the new stuff. Where else can we direct people on your behalf? Michael, you first.
Well, you can follow me on X at @RealMichaelSeif, where I post updates about the company very often and how it is excelling at the intersection of technology, commerce, and politics. And then you can also check out our company on a more broad scale. As I mentioned, PSQ Impact is a part of a larger network at publicsquare.com. And so we'd love for you to come and join us, whether you are a business owner, whether you're a campaign committee, an agency, a donor, or a shopper. We'd love for you to visit publicsquare.com and see if we have a service that can meet your needs.
Amazing. Alex?
Well, I'll echo what Michael said. Publicsquare.com. Publicsquare is an incredible company. I'm excited to be working with them on this project. PSQimpact.com. And if you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm at Alex Bruesewitz on every platform.
Very good. And I'm already seeing the feedback online. People are really jacked up about this. I'm excited about it too. You guys certainly made me more excited just talking to you. And you're both great Americans. I love catching up with both of you. So come back sometime soon and we'll chat some more. But best of luck in the new endeavor and congrats on the launch.
Thank you. And congrats on your new book.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
congratulations, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are kind. All right. That's today's show. Thanks to John Cassio for pulling clips and producer Misty for putting it all together. See you guys next time.